If you keep applying to jobs you're qualified for and you're still not getting interviews, this might sting a little bit. It's not that you have an experience problem, it's that you have an explanation problem. Because employers don't hire the most qualified candidate, they hire the candidate they understand the fastest. And if your resume, LinkedIn, or networking pitch makes them work too hard to figure out your value, they move on. Not because you can't do the job, because they couldn't quickly understand why you were the person for the job. That's the part most job seekers miss. They think the question is, am I qualified? But the real question is, why should they choose me over every other qualified person? And those are two completely different games. So in this video, I'm going to show you why qualified professionals still get ignored, where that confusion is showing up in your resume, LinkedIn profile, and networking conversations, and how to start positioning yourself so employers actually understand your value faster. Here's what I think most job seekers get wrong. They think employers are asking, can this person do the job? That's not the real question. The real question is, why should we choose this qualified person over all the other qualified people? Those are completely different questions, and that's where people get stuck because qualifications are not a differentiator. They're the cover charge. Everybody in the room is qualified. That's why they're in the room. Nobody wins a marathon because they successfully tied their shoes, and nobody gets hired because they met the minimum requirements. And yet, that's exactly how most professionals market themselves. They spend all their energy proving they're qualified. Meanwhile, employers are trying to figure out, what are you known for? What unique value do you bring? Why should I remember you tomorrow? Here's the part nobody talks about. If an employer can't quickly understand what makes you different, they won't spend more time trying to figure it out because they don't have to. There are 200 other applicants waiting in line. And unfortunately, recruiters are not sitting at their desks thinking, hey, you know what? Let me spend another 45 minutes discovering this person's hidden greatness. That meeting has never happened. So let's talk about where this shows up because it shows up everywhere. Point number one, your resume isn't a document, it's a positioning tool. Research has consistently shown recruiters spend only a few seconds on initial resume review. A few seconds. That's less time than most people spend deciding what to watch on Netflix. Think about that. You've spent 20 years building your career and someone is making an initial decision about the time it takes to glance at a cereal box. That sounds ridiculous, but it's reality. A few months ago, I was reviewing a resume for someone with almost 20 years of experience. Smart guy, successful career, strong results. The resume was 4 pages long, which is always exciting because whenever I see a 4-page resume, I know I'm about to go on an adventure. So I started reading. It said sales, operations, project management, leadership, strategy, process improvement, customer success. By the end, I wasn't sure what role he wanted. I just knew he wanted one. And of course, after 4 pages, I still couldn't answer one question, which was, what is this person actually known for? And that's the mistake. Your resume isn't a record of everything you've ever done. It's a positioning document. If I can't quickly understand your value, the rest of your resume doesn't matter. And here's what's interesting. The exact same problem shows up somewhere else. But real quick, if you're on resume version number 37 and still not getting interviews, the problem may not be your resume. It may be that employers still don't understand what makes you different. That's why I created the High Impact Professional Branding Kit. It's a free resource inside my school community that helps you identify what you're known for, what value you bring, and how to communicate that clearly across your resume, LinkedIn, networking conversations. Because qualified professionals usually don't need more buzzwords, they need sharper positioning. So if you want access, just comment yes below and I'll send the details to join the community, and that way you can grab the kit for free. Then come right back because your LinkedIn profile may be committing the exact same crime as your resume was. Okay, let's talk about point number 2. Your LinkedIn profile isn't an online resume. Most professionals treat LinkedIn like a resume with a profile picture. That's not what employers are using it for. Your resume tells employers what you've done. LinkedIn tells employers who you are. Completely different. And this matters because recruiters aren't evaluating keywords anymore, especially at leadership levels. They're evaluating credibility, positioning, identity. I see this all the time on LinkedIn. Someone has a great career, strong background, things like director, VP, executive. Then I land on their profile and I genuinely have no idea what they do. Their headline says something like, passionate leader driving innovation and transformation through strategic collaboration, which sounds impressive, but it also describes roughly 37 million people on LinkedIn, maybe 38 million by the time this video actually comes out. So the problem isn't that it's wrong, the problem is that it's forgettable because no one hires a buzzword. They hire a person who solves a problem. And that confusion becomes even more obvious in networking. Which brings us to point number 3. Networking is actually a positioning test. This is my favorite one because almost nobody sees it. Most professionals think networking is about finding opportunities. It isn't. Networking is about validating positioning. I was talking to a client recently, senior leader, very accomplished, and I asked him a question I ask almost everyone. What are you looking for next? Without hesitation, he said, a great culture, meaningful work, growth opportunities, a chance to make an impact. And I said, well, that's wonderful. But if I introduced you to 10 hiring managers tomorrow, none of them would remember that answer by lunch. Because every professional wants those things. That's not a career direction, that's a wish list. And here's what's interesting. Most networking conversations die right there. Not because the person isn't qualified, not because they're bad communicators, because they've never done the work identifying what makes them memorable. And here's the part that took me years to understand. People getting interviews aren't necessarily better candidates, they're usually clearer candidates, which sounds like a small distinction until you realize it changes everything. And that brings us to point number 4, you don't have a resume problem. Okay, this sounds harsh, but I think it's important. Most people don't have a resume problem, they have a clarity problem. Over the years, I've noticed something. The professionals struggling the most with resumes are usually not struggling with resumes. They're struggling with decisions. What do I want? What should I target? What am I actually the best at? Where do I fit? And because they don't have answers to those questions, they start updating their resumes. Then LinkedIn, then updating the resume again, then LinkedIn again, which is a little like hitting refresh on Google Maps before you've entered a destination. Eventually, you're just annoying yourself. The real problem was never the resume. The resume is simply exposing the confusion that already exists. Because when you're unclear where you're going, everything starts sounding generic. Your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your networking conversations. They're all downstream from the same source. And that's why I believe most people start in the wrong place. They start with tactics when actually you should start with clarity. Because once you're clear about what you want and the value you bring, everything else becomes easier to communicate. So let's bring this home. If you're qualified but not getting interviews, the market might not be your problem. The ATS might not be your problem. Competition might not be your problem. The real issue may be that employers can't quickly understand what makes you different. And that confusion shows up everywhere. Your resume, your LinkedIn profile, your networking conversations. Because all three are simply mirrors reflecting the same thing, your positioning. Remember, qualified isn't enough anymore. Qualified gets you into the game. Differentiation gets you selected. Professionals getting interviews aren't always the most qualified. They're the ones whose value is easiest to understand. So if this video resonated with you, I've got 2 ways to help. First, comment yes below and I'll send you access to the high impact professional branding kit inside my free School community. It's designed to help you identify what you're known for, clarify the value you bring, and communicate that clearly across your resume, LinkedIn, and networking conversations. And second, if you want personalized help, you can book a free job search strategy and positioning review with me. We'll look at where your job search may be breaking down, identify any positioning gaps, and map out a clearer strategy to help you get traction faster. No pressure, no hard sell, just a focused conversation to help you get clearer, sharper, and more visible to the right opportunities. The booking link is in the video description, or if it's easier, comment call below and I'll send you the link. Because remember, qualified isn't enough anymore. Qualified just gets you into the pile. Clear, however, gets you interviews. So comment yes if you want the branding kit or click on the link description to book the free review. I'll see you in the next video.